welcome CPAC Senior Fellow Mercedes Schlapp, Senior Advisor, United Against Nuclear Iran, Hiva Wallace, CEO, United Against Nuclear Iran, Ambassador Mark D. Wallace, and CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp.
Where's Michael? What kind of music is that?
I don't know.
Is that Iranian music?
No, but we should play one.
Hey, was Benny Johnson not great?
That's great.
I saw some dance moves out there that were pretty. That was pretty good. Did you get to see that? Benny got the whole crowd dancing.
I'm not surprised. I mean, he's such a charmer.
And tonight, just so you know, I don't know where Natasha Owens is. She's probably she's getting another dress made. She's got a special dress. It was like she's got a special song for you guys tonight. So anybody who's going to the dinner, and if you're not going to the dinner, make sure you watch. I know C-SPAN's got this. X has it. Ben Shapiro was showing this, live streaming this on the Daily Wire yesterday.
Right.
So many ways to get this content, so you make sure you watch. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So I'm in a little bit of a vulnerable position today because
I don't know if that's a good thing, Schlapp.
I've known
It's a good thing.
I've known Ambassador Mark Wallace. I choke on that because, you know, when your friend has an august title like that,
Never used it before.
Ambassador, whatever. But, you know, it is kind of, I mean, ambassador to the UN, so that takes it down a couple notches, actually, when you say UN. But the, sorry, it's just the way it is.
You're vulnerable here, Schlapp. I just want you to know.
I am vulnerable because he's known me a really long time. Priscilla O'Shaughnessy's here. I know she's going to be mad at me for saying it, from my hometown of Wichita. Priscilla's known me since I'm like 18, 16, 17, something like that. So you could probably learn some bad stuff from Priscilla if you
Matt, you're really telling your age right now, okay?
And Wallace is in the same position. But Mark, it's a great honor for Mercy and I to have you and your beautiful wife. You guys do such amazing work. You had me, give me a very special invitation to go to the 80th anniversary at Auschwitz recently. I went to Poland. Mr. and Mrs. Balaban and Henry, I went to Poland, your home country, even though you're Americans. And a beautiful place. We met with amazing people. It was a very moving trip. Thanks for including me. But to have you here is very special for Mercy and I. You're a great friend. The work you do, you've done behind the scenes and prominently to try to make sure that we defang Iran and Hiva, from your point of view, give the Iranian people a shot. It's the mullahs who are away, just like the same problem we have in Cuba, the same problem we have in China. So thanks for being here.
Guys, thanks for having me. And I have to do a little something to start this.
Oh, no.
Indulge me because it's a sentimental thing. I have to get some real thank yous out of the way and talk about what this is, because I've known them a very long time, and I've seen this grow, and I've seen what it's meant to the Schlapps. And it's very moving for me to work with them. They're very dear friends of mine. But first we have to say, I have to acknowledge and tell a story. I want to acknowledge the government of Poland, Prime Minister Tusk, my friend Radek Sikorski, and the Polish delegation. The president of Poland's coming as well. And there's an entire Polish contingent here. Guys, stand up just for 1 second.
And the Poll's here. You stand up.
Every poll.
Come on.
Every poll.
Stand up. Come on.
No, the delegation.
There's
please,
more.
The entire delegation, stand
there we
up.
Go.
Because the reason why that's so important is Poland is here in so many ways, and their government is so wonderful. And I had a crazy caper to exfiltrate a drone out of Ukraine and work with our allies, the Poles, to sneak an Iranian drone out of Ukraine and fly it on a Polish C-130, and it's displayed here. They're great allies, and before the president even did it, they are the biggest NATO defense spender in the world. They spend nearly 5% already, and they are really the poster child of what we want a NATO ally to be about. And it's so great to be here, and all the Poles to see them here. It's really exciting. Now, I was talking in the green room. It's, you know, the Schlapp green room, I guess. And I was talking to the Foreign Minister Sikorski and Amanda McKinney, who's here, and I'm talking Iranian drones and things, and this is what CPAC's about. All of a sudden, it turns out that Poland, and I didn't know this, is one of the great Apple producers in the world. And Amanda, wherever she is here, produces incredible apples in Washington State. So immediately, the CPAC discussion in the green room that was about Iran drones turned into a apple diplomacy, and that's what this place
Which could have easily turned into tariffs, so it could have gotten really fun, right?
But it's a testament to what CPAC is about. And, you know, having known them, it's really what the Schlapps are about, because you can have a conversation with real people about real things and important things and the binds that tie us together. And Matt and Mercy, I've seen you, and I knew you before you were Matt and Mercy. And to see that and the things that you do for our country and for all of us, you know, I just think we should give them an applause. I have to do that. I've known them a long time. But to Matt and Mercy, I mean it. You know I mean it. I'm totally hokey.
Okay, you're going to make me cry. Let's get going.
No,
I think
true.
he just wants to get invited back.
I want to talk about tough things.
Hiva, you married this guy who is this anti-Iranian regime activist, anti-extremism activist. We have a lot of commonality. Your organization doesn't really get involved in politics. You're really involved in national security.
We are.
We get involved in politics, but there's a lot of crossover here. There's so much that we have in common, because at the end of the day, if it's not about human rights, God-given rights, what is it all about? And you must have this amazing experience of seeing Donald Trump's maximum pressure campaign that your husband had a lot to do with building, then this 4-year hiatus, which is everything to subsidize this radicalized regime. And now we're back to trying to bring the regime, not the people, the regime to its knees by depriving them of everything they could possibly need, including customers for their petroleum products. How does it feel to be back on the right track?
It brings hope back. Let me tell you, the 4 years, it felt like a betrayal. It felt like a betrayal. All the money that President Biden gave back to the Iranian regime, not a single one of it went to the people to do anything good for this country. People suffered under, continue to suffer under this regime. This regime kills its own people, kills its young women, young men, that all they want is freedom, basic freedom of just not, how threatening is my hair right now to you? A young woman died, well, yeah, but a young woman dies on the street for just showing a bit of her hair. And President Biden did not support any of it. And to me, that was unacceptable. And thank God that President Trump is back, because this regime is scared. Let me tell you, all of its proxies are brought down to its knees. It is, if any change is going to happen, it is now, and this is the time. And I am so thankful for the maximum pressure being back on and all option against this regime. Because
Hiva, you grew up in Iran. You spent time there. Yeah. Your family had to flee this regime. I mean, how difficult was it for your family to pick up and have to leave everything to come here to the United States?
Well, your family knows something about that,
right?
too.
Both of you.
Yeah,
I mean,
both of us.
I mean, remember, we have a Cuban American and an Iranian American sitting next to one another. It's an amazing testament to our country that you two are here and can talk about human rights and freedom. Because I know them, obviously, both really well, and their experience across the world is so similar. You know, and there's hope now. But you know.
And where we have come this far, this country has provided so much opportunity, and just to the freedom and the opportunity that has brought us. I mean, I would have never thought I would be sitting here with you guys, with this amazing audience, talking about President Trump. And to me, this is a dream come true. And
Mercy, how long was your father in prison?
This is very near and dear, because what you see. And, you know, we had this conversation yesterday with the Jewish families, the families of the hostages, of the tragedy of really how horrific governments can be, terrorists can be, and for us in the United States, we don't comprehend it 100% because we live in this great country. But when I look at my father, who is now 89 years old, who, back in the early 60s, when he did have to confront the communist regime, and he was put in a situation where, he was building his businesses, he was in the prime of his life, to have to turn everything over to the communists because they came in and said, give me your keys to your house, give me your keys to your businesses, and then he's left with nothing. And how many countries have so many people, millions and millions of people who have lost everything in the hands of these horrific authoritarian regimes and these communist regimes? And so for my father, he was thrown into jail after trying to overthrow the Cuban government and was in jail for literally close to 8 years, where he was thrown into solitary confinement, naked in a dark room for 2 to 3 months at a time, where he was tortured, where he would hear the cries of his friends being executed. It is horrific what the communists have done to destroy so many people, so many families in the world. And when you ask my father, are you Cuban? Are you American? He proudly says, American. I am American. I stand for freedom. And you, my daughter, and you, my grandchildren, and you, my son-in-law, you have an obligation to protect this country. You have an obligation to protect the freedoms that are fragile in America. And that is my message to every single one of you in this audience.
You know,
let me just say one thing there. So Agnieszka, I often say, well, you're Polish, you correct me. You say you're American.
American.
When I ask my father-in-law, or if I slip up and say he's Cuban-American, he puts his hand on my arm and says, I'm an American. This is a very, very important difference. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your heritage. But as Mark Levin, who is one of a real hero to all of us, says, we're not a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of former immigrants. That's a really important distinction.
You know, her family, may her father rest in peace, Mir, he was a wonderful man. He said the same thing to him. I knew him before he passed. And he said, you know, I'm an American. And her father and her mother gave up everything in Iran to move her and her sisters here to get a better life. Her mother couldn't speak English and still struggles with it because she had a harder time, came a little later, but they wanted a better life for their daughters. And that's an incredible experience, all in the face of oppression. And look, you know, because of our friends, the Poles and the United States, President Trump, our friend Rick Grinnell, we were able to bring this Shahed 136 drone.
Which everyone can go down to our CPAC Central and go see it. It's actually here the first time on American soil. Right. It's at CPAC. Go see this killing machine. And it's a good, important reminder to this regime, this barbaric, murderous regime that intends to tell you that it stands for some kind of godly principles, what an abomination they are. It's important for them to know that due to Mark's good work, that we're on to them, that we are going to make sure that we stop them, and that they should be, we said yesterday, around the globe, all the right people are sweating.
That's right.
They're worried. And that's part of the maximum pressure campaign, is to make sure that they understand that if they take steps against America, against Israel, against Jewish people, against Christian people, against our allies, against the stability of civilization, I believe, I'll speak for him, even though I don't represent him, I believe President Trump and our allies will take the steps needed to make this stop. And that starts with Israel getting rid of Hamas. It starts there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, it's very rare when you can look into the eyes of a despotic regime, because they usually lie, and the propaganda they put out is to tell you that they aren't who they are. But that drone downstairs, that Shahed 136, is the ubiquitous terror weapon of mass destruction across the Middle East.
There it is, right there on your screen.
There it is, and we have it downstairs. It's been used against Israel. 3 American service members died on the sharp end of that because of, in my opinion, failed policies of the previous administration. Numerous service members have been injured. It's attacked our allies in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, across Syria and Iraq, and shipping in the Bab el-Mandeb in the Red Sea, even in the Persian Gulf. And of course, they've sent over 6,000 of these drones into Russia to attack Ukraine. And it is an indiscriminate terror weapon that kills innocent women and children. So every time you see an Iranian official, and we list them, say this propaganda and they smile at you, the smiles that oppress their families. you'll look at this drone, and that's the true face of oppression. That drone is what they really are.
So and thanks for bringing it here. I think it's important. The other person who was going to be with us today was the Crown Prince of Iran, who played us. You know, Mercy and I sometimes pinch ourselves because we have the most fascinating meetings at our CPAC headquarters. And he came to our headquarters, and we had this great conversation about his view for the government of Iran to be a secular government, and the government of Iran that would recognize the state of Israel, a government of Iran that would rid itself of this concept of fueling and feeding and funding terrorism. He's an important voice, and he wanted to be with us here today.
Right, and we heard, we hope, he indicated his mother, the great Shabanu, is sick, and he had to return to Paris.
The Shah of Iran's widow is alive.
Yes, and apparently she was ill, and we wish her the best. And I'm personally disappointed that I didn't get to see His Royal Highness, and I know he would have been a valuable addition. But we have to figure out ways to support the Iranian people, just like we supported the Cuban people, because these are the oppressed. Any ideas?
You know, we've been thinking about this.
Should we do it? Should we make some news?
Yeah, I think we should make some news. Right. Why don't you make the news?
Oh, man.
Mercy, you're okay with the news, right?
Yes.
Because I always have to.
Hard work.
I'm not having another baby.
This is why.
I would love to, but we're.
Oh, she says that until someone puts a little baby in her
I
arms,
know.
and then she starts
I
having
could be a
sex.
grandmother before.
This is why.
This might be harder than actually raising a baby. Let me just say.
This might be harder.
But it's worthwhile.
We might have opened up a bad topic. But
it is worthwhile, though.
I will say this is one of the reasons why we're here as couples too, because I kind of saw how you guys operated at the museum that you're opening up on the corner of Auschwitz, at the corner of the camp where this horrible criminal lived, who was the camp
Commandant. If you watch the movie The Zone of Interest, the Huss house, Rudolf Huss, we don't like saying his name, I'll only say it one time, but the man that institutionalized the industrial scale slaughter of Jews and other people, Poles, Romans.
A lot of Poles.
Yeah, a lot of Poles. But millions of Jews went to their death looking at that house. It is the true face of evil. We managed to put and you were there, we put a mezuzah on the front door of that house after 80 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got to touch it. It was incredibly meaningful.
It was so interesting. When we put that mezuzah on, sometimes you just do things and you don't realize. And we put it on that door. We observed the halakhic principles in doing it. And we just did it. And everybody, Jews, non-Jews alike, wanted to go touch that mezuzah. And it's become just a real rallying point.
It's an evil place.
It's a wonderful U.S.
I will say it's an evil place. I felt evil there.
Yeah.
I didn't like being there. So it's very important that we take evil places and try to, make them more holy.
And we got to teach. We got to teach the people. We got to teach the people that these tragedies, these genocides, they happen. They have destroyed communities. They have destroyed families, and it must stop.
So let me just say one thing. I wanted to say this one thing. It's really important. So we had a great tour guide at Auschwitz, and I'd never been to a concentration camp, a death camp, a work camp. On purpose, I hadn't gone. Because I already know I think it's terrible, and it upsets me so much to even be there. But one of the things I learned was the initial intent of Auschwitz was to kill political prisoners in Poland. So many Polish people were killed who were trying to stand up to authoritarianism. Is this right? This is right. And this is the story for America. I'm not comparing it to that. I'm simply saying the lesson I learned was, whether you're talking about people that are persecuted by the government, we've had this whole conversation with Julie Kelly here, what happened to people that felt like the last election had fraud, and we have all these J6 victims. You have all these people who couldn't even speak their mind, that had their Facebook page canceled, while the mullahs have their Facebook page, Donald Trump and others people have their Facebook page taken away. The lesson of all of that is, when you snuff out political speech, that's just the beginning, and it can lead to even worse things. So you're right, sweetheart, we have to really understand our history. So part of our understanding our history is calling out the bad guys now, right? Absolutely. Ambassador Wallace?
Absolutely.
So how do we do that?
Well, I think one of the things we have to do is think about how we can help the oppressed, right? How do we rally that? And look, we've operated when the Crown Prince was supposed to be here today. We can do something to try to help organize that diaspora. It's a diverse diaspora, different people, different competing influences. And look, like any diaspora, Mercy, the Cuban diaspora, there's a lot of, at times, friction. But if we can do something to show that we stand with these diasporas, as diverse as they are, and bring them together in one roof, the moment the unity is shown against these despotic regimes, it's the first day of the last day of those regimes. So what do you think?
I think we should look at the title of this conversation. I'd like to have a MAGA mullah meltdown.
A MAGA mullah meltdown? A CPAC Iran in exile?
I think a CPAC Iran in exile. What do you guys think?
I think,
would that cause, there we go, that would cause a meltdown.
right, we could invite all the Iranians, leaders and groups who all at times have friction, but are all united against this regime. And I know, Matt, you've done so many things with CPAC, but that would be an incredible way to show the people of Iran that their future might be just around the corner.
What would your dad think about having a MAGA mullah meltdown?
It will be a big task, but it is worthwhile, and we have to
Let's do it.
That's
Let's
the
do it.
only way.
Will you guys join us?
Anybody can
You guys
join
gotta
us,
show
do
up.
that.
Don't worry, we're not going to Tehran.
Yeah, we'll do it here.
We're going to go someplace closer. All right, thank you all.
I will not be participating if it's Tehran.
That's right, not doing that. Thank you all for being
Thank you so
here.
much.
Thank you for
Thank
bringing
you.
this weapon of mass destruction. Make sure you go down to the CPAC Central to check it out. And we got so much more going on today, so just don't leave the room for very long at one time, okay? God bless you all, and thank you all for being here.